You're watching Open Agenda. Here's our host, Joe White.
Welcome to Open Agenda. I'm your host, Joe White. In the studio with me today is Councilman Joe Holloway.
How you doing, Joe? Thanks for the invitation.
Thanks for coming out here.
Yeah.
It's beautiful outside, so
Yeah,
sit
bad day to
inside.
be inside.
It is.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not too bad.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring you in. I want to make sure everybody understands what Question A is about. A few of the main talking points, and I also want to get your insight. I mean, you're one of the 4 Republican council folks who have voted for the referendum, and I really want to find out a little bit more. In the last election, you were voted by over 70% of the folks in District 5, right?
That's correct, yes.
So do you feel like the folks who live on the east side of the county in your district, do you think that they're going to support this Question A?
Well, you know, referendums are confusing sometimes to people, but everything I've heard from people for 18 years since I've been on the council is, why do we need a county executive? Why do we have a county executive? And I said, well, you know, it was put on a referendum, people voted it in. I said, but you have a chance now to change things for the better, to go back to the way it was before.
Yeah.
So
one of the misnomers I've heard several times is that there was a petition and it was signed, and you were around back then. I mean, that's not true. Is it?
I was asked to be on the committee to put this referendum on a ballot, and I voted against that. I went to the meetings. I seen, you know, they were bringing people down from Montgomery County, Baltimore County, and I'm thinking, you know, is Wacomico County really ready for this? I don't think so. So it was done by referendum. That committee sent it to the then county council, and they took the advice of the committee and put it on a referendum. So it was not done by ballot, by
petition.
By petition, no.
Yeah. So having an executive form of government is in fact a larger form of government than, say, a councilmatic form of government.
Oh
is
my
that
God,
accurate?
yes. You know, and they talk about the cost of just the office. It's not just the cost of the office that increases the cost to the citizens. It's the actions that this county executive can take without, you know, the approval of the council or even the citizens knowing what they're going to do.
Well, I want to take some time and back up, and I want to talk specifically about the 3 elected county executives we've had in the last 18 years. We've had 4 total. 1 was appointed, but let's roll back to Rick Pilot, who was the very first county executive.
Yeah, Rick. You know, Rick was well known. His family, you know, the Pilots, they came from around Eden, and Rick ran for county executive. He won. Rick was a nice fellow, you know, very nice guy. But, you know, Rick spent 8 years trying to get rid of the revenue cap. All the problems that Wacomico County had at that time, according to them, his administration, was because of the revenue cap. So we went through the Great Recession at that time. If we had not had the revenue cap and there was free range to raise taxes, we probably couldn't afford to live in Wacomico County today. So we had a lot of issues we had to tackle. You know, there's a lot of funding problems going on. They actually did, you know, what they call an early retirement, RIF or whatever, offered early retirement. And one of the things that came up was the 2 people that designed that early retirement. One was one of Rick's staff, and the other one was well, he was staff too. He was the HR director. They were both over 65 years old, but they got to take advantage of this early retirement, and they basically retired with full salaries.
So they actually were part of the group that the executive at the time put together.
Correct.
To look into this.
Yeah.
How vital was having the county council to hold those conservative values, that hold that tax base down, so that we didn't run amok with the revenue?
Well, it's a good thing we had a conservative council at that time. It really is, because, you know, there were ways to go around it, unfortunately, but they held the line anyway.
Did you have other structural issues while Rick was the county executive?
Oh yeah, there was things. You know, one of the things that was the folks down around Eden. He closed one of the transfer stations and moved it, and just did it without any input from the citizens. The first thing you know, everybody's raising Cain about this thing being closed, moved to another location. It was in a neighborhood where people weren't happy about it. So they had to step back and do some public hearings, and we got that problem resolved. So,
Okay.
Anyway.
After you went back to did the transparency thing after the fact.
Yeah, after the fact. That's the problem with the county executive form of government. That they have a lot of power.
Yeah.
They have a lot of power. So then, Bob Culver ran. Ran against Rick. Bob served on the council for a term.
Now, before you say anything else, I want to back up. Now, Rick was a Democrat.
That's correct. Yes.
And Bob, I had some dealings with Bob. I mean, he was a self-proclaimed conservative, correct?
Self-proclaimed. Yeah.
Okay.
Like a lot of people are sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And I got along good with Bob. Bob was a lot different than the executive we have now. If Bob was upset with you, he'd call you on the phone and cuss you out. And then the next week he's okay with you. Somewhat okay with you, depending on what you were what you had in mind and what you wanted to do. But Bob came in. He didn't have a lot of experience in government, and like a lot of other folks, they think they can get in there and do anything they want. And he did some things that weren't didn't follow the charter in a lot of ways.
Well, promoting the finance director. I mean, we went a whole year or more without a confirmed finance director,
That's
right?
correct. Couldn't go to the bond market for that.
And I mean, probably at that time it wasn't the biggest deal because of the recession that we didn't go to bond market. But if there was, say, a Fruitland Primary School that was going to get approved that year,
Right, it wouldn't happen.
We wouldn't have happened only because the executive needed to have his girlfriend put in as the finance director, right?
We couldn't appoint a finance director.
Yeah.
We couldn't appoint that. So we couldn't go to the bond market. We didn't appoint a finance director. So, Bob had some issues. He sold a piece of property that probably for half of what it should have been sold for.
What was that property initially for?
Well, they came to the council and they said, we've got some small pieces of property that it will not pay to advertise to sell. And they adjoin other people's property, and we could offer it to them, 2 or 3 of the neighbors, and if they wanted it, talking about something that's maybe 1/8 of an acre or, 1/16 of an acre that'll border somebody's property. And would it be okay if we sold those without advertising? Because advertising would eat up any money that they got, or probably cost us money. So we gave him the go-ahead to do that, but we didn't know about one property. And that one property was probably worth $50,000 to $60,000, and he sold it to somebody that he knew for $25,000.
It was actually even somebody you had some business dealings with as well.
It was a business associate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think he ever disclosed that to the public, or?
No, he did not.
Okay.
We did, or tried to. It didn't go.
But that's after the fact.
After the fact,
Yeah.
and then Bob had his health issues. So.
Yeah.
And we had other things. Mount Hermon, we had a town hall meeting at Mount Hermon Church. I called for a town hall meeting because of closing the southern portion of Walston Switch Road. People weren't all that against it. They just know what was going on. There were some people against it. Some people didn't care. Some people were concerned about moving the traffic up to the airport road in Mount Hermon. That was going to increase traffic there. By the way, they had an accident there last week.
Yeah.
But anyway, the message at that time from Bob's staff was that we'll go back and discuss it. We'll get back with you. Well, they didn't get back with us. They just closed the road a week or 2 later. So.
Now, how would that have been different if we were a councilmatic form of government? Well, how would if the county council didn't have an executive? How would that process have happened
It would
differently?
have had to been voted on before people, of course.
But would there have been a work session?
Oh yeah,
with
there'd
public
been work
works?
sessions and all that.
Would there have been a public hearing?
Correct. If it was required, we would have done a public hearing. But you would have 4 people that would have had to vote to do it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been just done.
But none of that was done.
None of that was done.
Because
No.
you had a county executive.
Right, we had a county executive. And, we had the issue that he wouldn't let the county department heads for a while come in and talk to the county council. He was mad at us or something. Then we had, this one was almost too unbelievable. We got a rebate from the insurance company every year if we don't have a lot of claims.
Okay.
And that actually goes back to the employees. They don't give them money. They just take some off their bill the next month, right?
So they're going to pay less the next year per month.
The next year per month or for 1 month or whatever. Well, they took that and they wanted to open gym memberships, So that was something that there's a list, and a lot of it's minor stuff. Some of it's violations of the charter. Some of it's just minor ethical things that you probably shouldn't do, but if you went to the ethical board, they would probably say, well, we don't know.
Well,
you know,
you've shared a lot on this list, and some of it is maybe small.
Right.
Some of it's actually very big, but more importantly, if anyone's willing to work in that level of process behind closed doors, then you don't really know what could be next.
Correct. Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's you know, that's the problem. You take a good portion of your government and you move it behind closed doors where citizens don't know what's going on.
So what I mean, one of the talking points against the question A has been that this is somehow a personality conflict with the current executive. Have you run into some of the same ethical and charter issues with the current county executive?
Oh yeah. You know, you keep thinking it couldn't get any worse, but it seems to get worse all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And yeah, it's there's been you know, of course, a lot of it's been out in the open, you know, in the press. Some of it has.
Like the confirmations?
Well, confirmations, you know, the 364-day contract instead of going 365 days. I mean, I actually sat at the council table and said, you know, Ms. Giordano, did you do this to avoid coming in front of the council? And she admitted that she did.
Yeah.
You know, that's
We've shared that video on our show, and it was quite
yeah.
quite weird to hear that. Yep, that's exactly why we did it.
You know, and then, you know, suggested legal action if we didn't agree with the budget. You know, so, you know, the process is the county executive does the budget, brings it to us. We either pass it or don't pass it. You know, we make suggestions if we want money moved, you know. And she made a comment out there one day, you know, hey, you know, you don't want to go to court if you don't pass this budget. Something to that effect. That's not the exact.
And that's not free. You know?
Yeah, no, and why? You know, that's not the process. You know, I mean, that's not how it does. You know, the recycling bins at the Civic Center. That, you know, that was something that really fired a lot of people up. I mean, people were, you know, phone calls started coming in. What's happening with the recycling bins? You know, they moved them. They're gone. So they came in front of us. You know, we discussed the recycling bins. Let's talk about how we can replace them. Well, there was a fence around the backside of the recycling bins. We'll talk. Okay, we'll get back with you about replacing them. Well, they didn't get back with us. They just went and moved the fence in, so now it is permanently gone. You know, a few weeks ago, our internal auditor, you know, did an audit on employee turnover. I think it was in 2020 we had a 4% turnover rate. 2023 we had a 20% turnover rate.
Yeah.
You know, we've lost some good employees, and it basically comes from leadership.
I thought
And that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing from the people that are gone. They can't call you when they work there because they're afraid of losing their job. But when they find another job and they move on, then they get on the phone. Hey, guess what happened to me? You know, I either got fired or I've quit or I've retired. I'm going somewhere else to work because of the way I was treated.
I was there when Ms. Chantel, the auditor, presented her findings, and
Right.
she got those numbers from the HR department.
Oh yeah, it came right from Julie's department. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't made up.
But then it was interesting. 2 days later, the county executive had her own press conference, and almost refuted the numbers and said that they were being misconstrued. Have you had any?
Well, I was at that press conference. Basically, what she talked about was hiring 2 or 3 people that were like department heads. She wasn't talking about boots on the ground out there, people that were working. You know, a lot of the people that had actually left because of the leadership problems.
Mm-hmm.
She was hiring more leaders. That hopefully these leaders are better. Maybe, I don't know, but that was the deal there.
I want to talk a little bit more. We want to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about the history of having a county executive in Maryland. Some of that past, some of what you think is the future, and also maybe some of what are your concerns if we don't pass Charter Amendment A.
Sounds good.
The Upper Ferry operates on the Wicomico River and connects the west side of the county on the peninsula between the Nanticoke and Wicomico rivers to Eden, which is situated south of Fruitland, thus bypassing the big city. The Upper Ferry is one of 2 public ferry boat operations on the Wicomico River and is the first place to cross the river south of Salisbury. The Upper Ferry helps to reduce traffic congestion near downtown Salisbury, where, if not for the ferry, one would have to cross the river on the Route 50 or Fitzwater Street drawbridges. The ride across the river is very short, only about 2 minutes, but you'll be able to enjoy a pleasant view while avoiding city traffic. The upper ferry is a small vessel with a maximum capacity of 3 cars, 6 passengers, or 10,000 pounds. The ferry boat runs along a heavy wire cable beneath the water's surface, so if you're boating on the Wicomico River near the upper ferry and you see it underway, please come to a full stop and wait, because the cable is pulled up to the surface as the ferry boat cruises along and can snag your outdrive or propeller, creating a dangerous situation for both you and the ferry boat alike. The ferry boat has the right-of-way at all times and is privileged under the inland navigation rules as a vessel restricted in its ability to maneuver, which is visibly indicated on the ferry's masthead during daylight hours by 3 vertically aligned geometric black shapes depicting a ball over a diamond over a ball. After dark, or in conditions of limited visibility when the day shapes can't be easily seen, you'll see 3 vertically aligned lights on the masthead configured as red over white over red. Before your boat continues its journey up or down the river, it's best to wait until the ferry lands on either bank to ensure everyone's safety. There's no charge to ride on the upper ferry, and it runs 7 days per week, year-round, but is closed on county holidays. The ferry's hours of operation are adjusted seasonally, and there are times when the boat is out of service for repairs or when weather or river conditions cause operations to be temporarily suspended. So, it's always best to check the Wicomico County Department of Public Works website before leaving home, or you can call the ferry hotline at 410-543-2765 for a status report. This is Mike Goldberg for Open Agenda. Back to you, Joe.
Welcome back to Open Agenda. I'm your host, Joe White. Continuing with me in the studio is Councilman Joe Holloway. Joe, thanks for sticking around.
Thank you.
I want to talk a little bit about the history of having a county executive and maybe some of that checkered past in the state, but also the Eastern Shore. I mean, we are the only county on the Eastern Shore with a county executive.
We are. And, I watch a lot of what other councils do locally, Dorchester, Worcester, Somerset, Sussex, they don't have the issues we have. And you talk about the checkered past, there's county executives in Maryland. Jack Johnson went to jail for 7 years, for bribery. Jack Leopold was convicted of misconduct in office. Spiro Agnew, a long, long time ago, but his issues about impeachment actually went back to when he was county executive in Baltimore County, So, the county executive form of government is ripe for corruption. It really is. It gives people the opportunity. I won't say it's an open checkbook, but it's so much on the edge of being able to do things that that's irresistible to somebody.
I think anytime you can do something without some oversight, it could just lead you to make a poor decision. I remember in Jack Johnson's instance, it was a campaign donator that eventually the benefits that he was offering that person led into bribery. It wasn't one fell swoop. And I'm interested to think if we don't go back to a councilmatic form of government now, we could be talking the 2026 or the 2030 election. Is it possible that we could actually see influence from outside of the government workings themselves to really be able to impact a county executive, whomever that is?
Well, I think we see some of that now. Outside influences. A lot of your county executives, when they run, they have higher aspirations. Mm-hmm. They kind of ascend to the throne, of being the king or queen. And
well, give me an example.
Get that rock star status, and then they think that. Hey, I'm here. I can do what I want to do.
Well, give me an example of the current county executive doing something like that.
Well, now this was unbelievable. In fact, I had to verify it a couple different times and ask some questions about it. Apparently, this county executive, when she got elected, she went to the sheriff and she wanted a full-time deputy to be her chauffeur.
Okay.
Now think about this. Deputies cost us $60,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year with benefits, depending on the rank.
Yeah.
Probably a low-level deputy, one that's, not got a lot of rank, would probably be $60,000 or $70,000 with benefits. Our school board was in last week, and they want more school resource officers.
Okay.
But we don't have enough. You know, we've raised salaries, we've raised retirement benefits to try to enhance recruitment for our sheriff's department, and she wants to pull a deputy off the street to drive her around. Really? Come on now.
Now the same school
This
board.
This is a conservative county executive we're talking about now.
Well, you're talking about the same school board that asked for above maintenance of effort and was flat funded by the county executive in her budget proposal.
Yeah, but I mean, how special does somebody think they are?
Yeah. Have you ever had a county executive that had a chauffeur before? I mean,
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm not saying that the county administrator didn't drive the county executive to Annapolis or something like that, but as far as a personal chauffeur, no. I mean, that had to be one. You know, when I heard that, I'm thinking, you know, just how special does somebody feel that they are?
So do you feel like this issue is a partisan issue? Is this about some sort of liberal agenda or even?
No, this is nonpartisan. I mean, you know, I've talked to. Look, I wouldn't have got 70-some% of the vote because 70% of the people in my district aren't Republicans. I don't think. I had a lot of Democrats vote for me.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not. It doesn't have anything to do. This question A is not anything to do with the Republican. Now, 4 Republicans voted to put it on the referendum, but so did 1 Democrat.
Yeah.
You know, and but you know, I couldn't get over that. You know, it's and then we'll go back to the situation when she first also got hired. She brought 2 employees in and put into her department, which was illegal. It was misappropriation of funds.
No, why was it illegal? Now we have played this.
Those jobs weren't in the charter. They weren't in the code. It wasn't, you know, the personnel manual, wherever they were supposed to be. They weren't there.
Well, I mean, why is that such a big deal?
Well, it's a big deal.
Who cares?
Because she took money from other departments.
Okay.
It should have been in other departments, and was using these employees in her department. Not only that, it wasn't fair to the 2 people she hired. Think about it. You get hired with a county job. You think you got a nice county job. You know, hey, I've been hired by the county executive. Come to find out, she's done something that's not right, and they lose their jobs.
Well, when we were covering this in one of our recent episodes, we also covered about the county vehicles, and you actually brought up several times about reassigning county vehicles and why is that important? Why is that important?
Well, my big issue is, okay, back when Bob Culver was county executive, excuse me, I brought up the fact that, okay, our benefits aren't charged to departments, okay? So we don't know what the true cost of a department is.
Okay.
And they had a separate line item in the budget for departments. So you don't know if county roads is costing you this much or this much because all the benefits are being paid out of a different department, out of another line item. So we corrected that.
Okay.
To Bob's benefit, you know, and the person, whoever was doing the finances, they corrected that. They moved all that into each department. So each department now has benefits charged to that department. Well, now they've done the same thing they were doing with benefits before with vehicles.
Okay.
So we don't know what a department's costing us because, you know, somebody might be riding in an $80,000 car. Now the sheriff's department's different. I think they're a different.
Yeah, they have their
situation.
own.
Yeah, have their own thing. But as far as county roads, or as far as because they went to this leasing option that they use, we don't know the true cost to a department. So that's an issue, you know.
Now you referenced Bob Culver and some of the issues you had with him, and you even mentioned he would just call you up on the phone, give you a hard time, maybe cuss you out or whatever. But have you experienced with this county executive maybe some of the blowback repercussions when you have taken a position against?
I mean, she's resorted to name calling now. She was on PAC 14 last week, you know, using some pretty nasty things to say.
Well, I want to reference something in particular in 2023, and this was something I witnessed at the meetings I was attending. I mean, at one point you were accused of bribing someone, you know, a citizen, right? I mean,
yeah, that was pretty disheartening. You know, it was. I don't know whether I guess I laughed at it at the time, and that's what really got him upset. you know, we, John Cannon and myself was at a fire department meeting one night, and this gal comes over and she's selling these challenge coins, and we, you know, each one of them gives her $20. Well, you know, had this nice conversation with her, you know. And then the next meeting she comes up and asks for my resignation and wants an investigation done into, because I was a vain attempt at being a comedian, okay? Which I should keep my mouth shut sometimes probably, but when she got done asking for my resignation and all this, I made this comment, well, maybe I should have bought more challenge coins from her or something, you know.
Well, wait 1 minute. I actually want to play the video of the comments that were made in 2 successive county council meetings. And then I want to come back and I actually want you to speak about just what happened in the council chambers and what the final result of that was. Let's listen in now.
Okay.
You straight up remind me of people that I would run from. Good old boys. It's your way or the highway. It's absolutely disgusting. Joe, you need to go. And I'm sorry I have to say it, you need to go.
Yes.
Remember the night we sat at the table and that young lady wanted money from us?
Yeah.
And we gave her money. I guess we didn't give her enough. We should have given her more money.
I really certainly have to say to try to even suggest that any member, these people were elected officials. You have to understand what it takes to become an elected official. Whether you're an executive or whether you're a council member, you have to be out there and you have to be up front. These are not puppets. You don't, the character and the backbone is not part of this. Having no character or having no backbone is no part of this job. You have to be very thick-skinned, as Jeff had suggested here.
I'm asking you to open an official investigation on Councilman Holloway.
Be very careful here, Mr. Cooper.
I am being very careful, sir. And his own separate violation of the county charter, Article 2, Section 202-D, forfeiture of office. In closing comments of the last meeting, Councilman Holloway alluded to a donation he made to a person's fundraiser, and he thought it would be enough to stop her from coming here to comment. And at the coming here to comment at the council meetings. He referred to his donation several times and offered to make it more the next time so she definitely wouldn't come back. This does actually fit the legal definition of a bribe. And bribery is a crime of moral turpitude. Moral turpitude violations are strict grounds for forfeiture per county charter, Article 2, Section 202-D.
Good evening, Holly Wortell, Wycomico County resident. Good evening, Madam Councilman and gentlemen. I am here this evening because of what was said during the last meeting after I left, to basically when I came, when you all were at a fire meeting and I was selling challenge coins. I didn't ask you for money. I asked you if you'd like one, that they're $20. I've never asked anyone for money in my life, Mr. Holloway. Okay? And then for you to say what you did really hurt me. And I know what I said probably upset you and hurt you as well. I wish you would have been more like Shane Baker and came to me the night of the meeting, and we had a very nice conversation that lasted a few hours. But instead, you sat there to bribe me. Maybe we should have paid her more money to keep her away from these meetings. That is bribery. Mr. President, Mr. Cannon, that is in the violation, the charter violation, Article 2, Section 202-D. I want something done about that. I'm not going to go away, Joe, I'm sorry. I'm not going away. And then for you to laugh about the bribe, it sounded like a bribe to me. And anyone that would get on here. You know, I voted for you. I voted for, just about all of you sitting up there at the last election. And how dare you say something like that about me representing a volunteer fire company in this county that I represent proudly.
Evening. My name is Miriam Ashanti. I'm a resident of Wycomico County. I also, for 45 years, have served as human rights and civil rights activist and community advocate. And I praise the county council for upholding the charter and being servant leaders. I'm hearing people talk about Mr. Holloway. In life, people may say something that you don't agree with. They may even say the wrong thing. But Mr. Holloway has not done anything in the years that I've known him that he needs to be removed or to go before ethics.
At the podium tonight, I'll let Mr. Cannon decide if he wants to do an investigation. I've never heard of people trying to bribe politicians. I've never heard of a politician bribing a citizen, but anyway.
All right, so we had a chance to hear, I mean, yes, your vain attempt at some humor. The speaker is Holloway, who's now the president of the Wicomico County Firemen's Association. You were actually at one of their meetings to discuss concerns with the fire association, right?
Oh yeah. We, the council members go to a lot of their meetings. I mean, we support the fire departments.
Well, and two folks spoke. I mean, Holly came up there. She asked for your resignation. Mm-hmm. We also heard David Cooper speak. Now,
right.
Is it true that David Cooper's wife is the treasurer for Julie Giordano?
That's what I've been told.
Yeah. So why do you think those two folks in particular got up there to speak about, a bad joke and turn it into a bribery charge?
First of all, there were the three of Holly Ortel and Dave Cooper and Julie Giordano were sitting together in the audience, and they were giggling and looking at me, and I was thinking, what's going on with these three, And so I soon found out, they come up and started to accuse me of this bribery thing, and I'm thinking, what's going on here? For one thing, Holly Ortel's not been around here long enough. And of course, David Cooper, I'm sure, has not paid attention, but for 38 years, I've been donating money to fire departments. I sponsored T-ball leagues. Pete Richardson would call me up, hey, I need some money for the Salvation Army. Lions clubs, Ruetan Club, we had a Ruetan Club in Parsonsburg, we had a Lions Club in Pittsfield, we had a Lions Club in Mount Herman. Mr. Alan Richardson from Pittsfield Fire Department, he'd come by when they were having a car show. It wasn't a great lot of money every time, but it was a lot of organizations for over almost 40 years.
I mean, you were part of that fabric of the community on the east side, correct?
If they came to me and they needed something, I tried to help them out, donating money for all these years and then to get attacked like that, a baseless attack. So they asked for an investigation to be done.
Was an investigation done?
An investigation was done. 3 attorneys. Now think what this cost.
Okay. Well, who were the 3 attorneys? I want to know that.
It was Paul Wilbur, one of Julie's
He's the executive
attorney, which I guess they call him the county attorney. Bob Benson, the council attorney, and Jamie Dykes.
And she's the Wicomico County State's attorney. Right?
And they all looked at it and said, "No, there's no basis for this. This is ridiculous." And Mrs. Giordano weaponized these people to attack me, and I'm sure after this video I'll probably get it again.
Well, but when you see someone like Mike Goldberg, who's gone up and spoken several times, and they've tried to have him arrested once and actually had a peace order. We heard Mark Carroll speak at the Civic Center back in June about the executive coming to Sharptown to have him removed from his volunteer job. Is it easy for you to relate to just really how tough it can be to speak out against that part of the government?
Yeah. Was it no good deed goes unpunished? Is that saying people that, what happened with these folks is sad. I don't know because I didn't see it, but just hearing and seeing what I've read, it's hard to believe that citizens get treated that way.
So what would you tell someone who is really maybe just finding out about Question A, and if they still have questions? I mean, I know that anyone can go to the wicomicocounty.org website. They have emails and phone numbers for all 7 county council folks. Mm-hmm. They can contact them and ask them questions. But what advice would you give someone who's considering whether to vote for or against Question A?
Well, if they have questions, you can call me.
Okay.
You know? That's call any of your council members. You know, there's 5 of us that voted for it. I'm sure the ones that voted against it will have a different opinion, but you're welcome to reach out to the council members.
And you'll get various
Yeah, let's get various
viewpoints.
reasons. Yeah.
I mean, Republican, Democrat,
Right.
for, against.
Right.
But are you still happy that you put this referendum on the
Oh, yeah.
ballot?
I mean, I'll be even happier if it passes. Let me tell you, it's you know, as bad as this is, it could get worse. We could elect another county executive that was worse.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Well, having attended the meetings and seeing the progression in the last 2 years, that is probably the thing that gives me the most consternation, is the fact that we have yet to see, to no longer be surprised by how bad it can get.
Right.
And there is a strong chance that in 2026 or 2030, this could get much worse.
yeah.
And folks may not agree with what political party that person's in at that time.
Well, you know, it could be an independent sometime. It could be a Democrat, it could be a Republican. It's just, you just have to, you know, somebody asked me the other day, they said, if you went to court, say you were accused of a crime, would you rather be tried by, have a jury sitting there, or just a judge? Now, some people, you know, they're just going to have the judge sometimes for various reasons. But I think I would rather have 12 people judging me than one. And it's the same way with the county executive. You know, you're going to have 7 people on that council that are going to have different views. You know, they're going to weigh everything in, and 4 of them's going to have to agree. With a county executive, now a lot of this has to come to the council at some point in time, unless the county executive can figure out a way to keep it from coming to the county council, which she did with that 364-day contract.
And the confirmation that never actually even
Right,
came
right.
to you at all.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's different ways to
Right.
do it,
Yeah, I mean,
and that's just the ways we know of right now.
yeah, I think we could pass, 30 referendums, to the charter, but there'd always be somebody out there trying to figure out a way to get around
Well,
it.
you did, in fact, put 7 charter amendments
Yeah,
in,
yeah. There's
and
been
yet,
a number of charter amendments to put in over the years.
but
yeah.
between lawyers and county executives,
Yeah,
they have figured
yeah,
out ways
yeah,
around
yeah,
it. So
yeah, and it could go the other way. Look, no government's perfect. We all know that.
yes,
But I'd rather be, have 7 people and hope to get 4 to agree than I would just have one stepping out there doing what they want to do on their own
finding out later.
and finding out about it later.
Well, thanks for coming in and talking
man.
about question A. We hope it passes.
Yeah. Okay. Did you want to talk about the liquor bills, or is it too late? You got enough time?
I don't have enough time.
Okay, that's fine.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Oh, that's fine. Okay. That's fine.
I'm going to do one outro. You good? You don't. You can just keep it running. I can get it.
Okay, it's on you.
Thank you for watching this edition of Open Agenda. Please keep in mind that early voting starts October 24th and runs through October 31st, and Election Day itself is on Tuesday, November 5th. So whichever way you feel, please get out there and make your voice heard. Have a great day. We'll see you next week.
Oh, they're going to love this when it airs.